Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. The first crack in my marriage happened on a Thursday night in the marina office, 2 floors above my repair bay. I own a marine service company in Clearwater. Boat engines, hull work, wiring, storm damage, dirty work, long hours, and no shortage of it. I was closing invoices a little after 10 when I heard Tammy's voice through the open balcony door. She was downstairs on the dock, pacing beside my truck with her phone pressed to her ear. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "I'm tired of pretending I'm happy." I stayed where I was. The dock lights caught half her face when she turned. She looked good. Better than she had in months, actually. Hair done, white blouse, lipstick she didn't wear for dinner with me. Then she said the line that burned itself into my head. "I want someone younger, Gavin. Someone who makes me feel wanted again." I didn't move. Gavin. Not a woman from her book club. Not one of her friends. A man. She kept walking. "Liam doesn't even notice me anymore. He notices propellers, invoices, dead batteries. That's it. I feel like I'm married to a dock." A second later, she laughed. Soft. Flirty. Not the laugh she used with me. I walked to the railing and looked down without making a sound. She leaned against my truck like she belonged to another life already. "I know," she said. "I just need to get through one more week. He still thinks I'm doing wine nights with Vanessa." That was enough for me. I stepped back into the office, shut the balcony door, and sat down at my desk. I didn't throw anything, didn't call her name, didn't storm downstairs like some idiot in a bad movie. I opened the Marina security app instead. Tammy had started coming by the docks more often over the last month, said she liked the water at night, said it helped her clear her head. I pulled up the archived camera feed from the guest slips and started scrolling backward. 10 minutes later, I found him. Tall, mid-30s maybe, good jacket, expensive watch, clean haircut. He stepped off a black center console boat and kissed my wife like he'd done it before. I zoomed in on the registration number painted near the stern. Then I wrote it down. At 10:42, Tammy came upstairs carrying that fake, relaxed smile she used whenever she was hiding something. "You're still working?" she asked. I looked up at her and said, "Yeah, looks like I've got a bigger problem on my hands than I thought." She smiled like she didn't understand. That was fine. By morning, I planned to know exactly who Gavin was. By 8 the next morning, I knew 3 things. First, Gavin Cole was 34 years old. Second, he worked as a freelance yacht broker and brand consultant, which was a polished way of saying he made money by looking expensive around people with more money than him. Third, my wife had been seeing him for at least 6 weeks. I got the rest before lunch. The boat registration led me to a slip lease under a Shell LLC. The LLC led me to a brokerage office on Harbor Lane. One of my mechanics, Russell, had a cousin there. 20 minutes later, I had a photo, a work history, and confirmation that Gavin had a habit of getting close to wealthy married women who liked attention more than good judgment. That afternoon, Tammy texted me that she was meeting Vanessa for drinks. I replied, "Have fun." Then I parked across from Harbor House, a private lounge above the waterfront shops. At 7:18, Tammy walked in wearing the blue dress I bought her for our anniversary in Savannah. At 7:26, Gavin arrived. No rush, no caution. He kissed her on the cheek, touched the small of her back, and led her inside like he'd done it 100 times. I took pictures, clear ones. I got home before she did. When Tammy came in at 10:30, she kicked off her heels and headed for the kitchen like she owned the night. "How was Vanessa?" I asked from the dining room. She froze for half a second. "Good. Same stories, different wine." "Interesting," I said, "because Vanessa posted from her sister's baby shower in Orlando 3 hours ago." Tammy turned slowly. "You checked up on me?" "I didn't have to. You got lazy." Her face hardened. "If you're going to accuse me of something, say it." So I did. "You're sleeping with Gavin Cole?" The room went dead quiet. For a second, I saw panic. Then Tammy did what smart liars do when they're cornered. She went cold. "Maybe I am." I stood up. "Maybe?" She folded her arms. "Fine. Yes, I am." I nodded once. "Good. We're past the lying." She stared at me, waiting for the shouting, the pleading, the broken man routine. She got none of it. Instead, she lifted her chin and said it straight. "I want someone younger, Liam. Someone who still has a pulse. Someone who sees me when I walk into a room." I stepped closer until she had to look up at me. "Then you should have left like an adult," I said. "Not crawl around behind my back like a teenager." Her jaw tightened. You don't get to talk down to me. I'm not talking down to you, Tammy. I'm talking to a woman who brought another man into my marriage and thought I'd never notice. She didn't answer. Tell Gavin I want to meet him, I said. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Seabrook Grill. Tammy blinked. Why would he come? Because if he's man enough to sleep with my wife, he's man enough to sit across from me while I ask him what exactly he thinks he's building. And if I say no, I grabbed my keys. Then I stopped being polite. I left her standing in the kitchen with all the confidence gone from her face. Seabrook Grill sat over the water, all glass walls and polished wood, the kind of place that charged extra because the sunset came free. Tammy arrived first. Gavin came 2 minutes later in a linen jacket and the kind of smile men use when they think charm is armor. I stayed seated. Gavin reached for a handshake. Liam, I appreciate you being willing to talk like adults. I looked at his hand, then at him. Sit down. He sat. Tammy was tense from the start. She kept checking my face like she was waiting for the explosion. I gave her nothing. The waitress came. Gavin ordered bourbon like he was closing a deal. Tammy ordered wine. I ordered coffee. Gavin leaned back. Tammy said things have been rough between you two. Tammy says a lot of things, I replied. He smiled, but it slipped a little. For 10 minutes, I let him talk. He talked about boats he didn't own, clients he advised, trips to Miami, expansion plans, contacts, the whole polished routine. Tammy looked at him the way she used to look at me when I still surprised her. Then I set my phone on the table. Before we go any further, I said, I want to clear up one thing. Tammy frowned. Liam, I hit play. The audio came through clean. Gavin's voice, no doubt about it. Tammy's perfect, the recording said. Lonely, rich enough, and desperate to feel 25 again. You don't walk away from a setup like that. Gavin's face drained. The recording kept going. She thinks I'm into her because she's special. Truth is, she's a bridge. Her husband owns a marine company, she knows half the harbor crowd, and once she leaves him, she'll want help starting over. Condo, travel, maybe backing my charter project. It's all timing. Tammy turned to him slowly. What is this? Gavin recovered fast, but not well. It's out of context. I slid a printed bank statement across the table. Here's context. Tammy paid your slip fees twice, bought you a watch last month, and covered the deposit on your apartment under Harbor Cove. Tammy stared at the page, then at him. You told me your investor was late. Gavin looked at her, then at me. You've been digging around my life? I leaned forward. No, I've been cleaning up my own. Tammy's voice dropped. Tell me he edited that. Gavin didn't answer. That silence hit her harder than anything I could have said. I stood up and dropped cash on the table. Happy 25th anniversary, Tammy. Her head snapped up. She'd forgotten. Gavin clearly never knew. I looked at him one last time. You mistook access for power. That was your first mistake. Then I looked at my wife. You wanted younger. You found cheaper. I walked out and left both of them sitting there, with the water black under the windows and nowhere to hide from what was left on that table. I didn't go home after Seabrook. I went back to the marina office, locked the door, and pulled every account Tammy and I had onto one screen. What I found made the affair look almost simple. Over the last 4 months, Tammy had moved money out of our joint account in amounts small enough not to trip alerts. $1,200 here, $1,800 there, $5,000 marked as interior design deposit, another $3,000 under consulting. By midnight, I had the total, $38,600. I followed the trail into a second account I didn't recognize. Tammy's name was on it alone. So was Gavin's apartment deposit, slip fees, a boutique hotel in Naples, jewelry, weekend charges from places Tammy told me she'd never been. At 8:30 the next morning, I was sitting across from my attorney, Benjamin Foster. He read in silence for 15 minutes, then looked up. You don't have a marriage problem, Liam. You have a fraud problem. I figured. Do you want to save this? No. That was the whole conversation. By noon, Benjamin had filed the first emergency motions. By 1, I had frozen the joint line of credit, locked our investment account, and moved my business assets behind a wall Tammy couldn't touch. At 3:15, she stormed into my office without knocking. Her eyes were red. Her voice wasn't. You froze my cards. Yes. I was at a furniture store. I'm sure it was devastating. She slammed her purse onto my desk. You don't get to cut me off because you're angry. I stood up. I didn't cut you off because I'm angry. I cut you off because you stole from me. It was our money. It was our money until you started spending it on another man. She stared at me, breathing hard. I was going to tell you. No, you weren't. That's not true. I opened the folder on my desk and turned it toward her. Bank statements, hotel charges, the apartment deposit, a receipt for a watch I'd seen on Gavin's wrist the night before. Tammy looked down and went pale. I want access restored, she said quietly. I laughed once. You're in no position to want anything. Her eyes flashed. You're enjoying this? No, I said. I'm correcting it. She leaned closer. You think humiliating me at dinner and freezing money makes you a man? I held her gaze. No, letting another man live off my name and my money would have made me a fool. I decided not to be one. She picked up her purse but stopped at the door. This isn't over. I nodded. I know. That's why I hired someone better at this than you. Tammy didn't go quiet after that. She got louder. 2 days later, my daughter Claire showed up at the marina with her jaw tight and her phone in her hand. Mom says you're trying to ruin her life. I was under a center console replacing a fuel line. I slid out, wiped my hands, and looked at her. Did she tell you why? Claire crossed her arms. She said you froze everything, hired a lawyer, and publicly humiliated her. She leave anything out? Claire didn't answer. That told me enough. I walked her into my office, shut the door, and put the full file on the desk between us. Statements, photos, hotel receipts, the transfer history, Gavin's apartment deposit, the recording transcript. Claire sat down slowly. By the time she finished reading, she looked sick. She paid his rent? She asked. For 2 months. And the watch? With money from our joint account. Claire leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Jesus. I'm not asking you to pick sides, I said. She's still your mother, but I'm not going to let her turn me into the villain because she got caught. She nodded once. You should tell Noah before she does. Noah was my son. 22, stubborn, and too much like me for his own good. I called him that night and told him to come by. He listened in silence, didn't interrupt, didn't blink much either. When I finished, he looked at the photo of Gavin and said, That's the guy? That's the guy. Noah gave a short laugh with no humor in it. Mom left a 25-year marriage for a man who looks like he sells cologne in an airport? Seems that way. He shook his head and stood up. What do you need from me? Nothing. Too bad, he said. You've got me anyway. The next hit landed on Friday. Russell came into the bay holding his phone. You know Gavin's pitching some charter startup to investors? I took the phone and read the listing. Gavin was trying to raise money for a luxury day charter business using harbor connections and private client relationships. Private client relationships. That one made me smile. I made one call to the harbor board chairman, a man named Peter Lawson, who'd known me 15 years and didn't like frauds. I didn't exaggerate. I sent facts. By Monday morning, Gavin's proposal had been pulled from review. His temporary dock privileges were under investigation, and word had started moving through the marina faster than diesel on water. At 6 that evening, Gavin finally called me. You need to stop, he said. No, I told him. You need to learn what happens when you build your future on another man's marriage. Tammy came back on Tuesday night just after 9, not to apologize, not to explain. She came to take control back. I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when she walked in without knocking, still using the old code on the side gate like the house belonged to her. You've made your point, she said. I set the mug down. Have I? She threw her car keys on the counter. Gavin's dock access is under review. His charter deal is dead. People are talking. Claire won't answer my calls, Noah barely speaks to me, and now your lawyer's asking for a forensic accounting review like I robbed a bank. I looked at her. Did you? Her mouth tightened. Don't do that. Do what? Act like I'm some criminal and you're the wounded saint. I leaned against the counter. I'm not a saint, Tammy, but I also didn't move 38 grand into a side account while sleeping with someone half my age. She looked away for a second, then came back harder. You want the truth? Fine. I was lonely. I was bored. I was tired of being married to a man who only came alive around engines and invoices. Gavin saw me. He listened. He wanted me. No, I said. He wanted access. Her eyes flashed. You don't know everything. I know enough. I know he let you pay his rent. That wasn't. I know he lied to you about investors. I know he called you a setup. I know he saw our marriage as a ladder." She went quiet. For a second, I thought she might finally tell the truth. Instead, she tried a different angle. "You weren't easy to live with either, Liam." I nodded. "Probably not." That caught her off guard. I kept going. "I worked too much. I stopped taking you places. I stopped noticing when you changed your hair or bought a dress. I can own that." Her face softened just a little. Then I took it away. "But if you are unhappy, you leave. You sit across from me and say the marriage is dead. You don't steal from me, lie to our kids, and crawl into another man's bed while using my money to keep him comfortable." Tammy swallowed. "I made mistakes too," she said, quieter now. "Mistakes are forgetting birthdays," I replied. This was a campaign. She stared at me for a long moment, then asked the only question that mattered. "So, what now?" I picked up my coffee. "Now you go live with the man you picked over me," I said. "If he still wants you when you're not paying his way." She flinched like I'd slapped her. When she left, she didn't slam the door. That was how I knew she was finally starting to understand. This wasn't a fight anymore. It was the end. Tammy didn't move in with Gavin. She tried for 2 days. That's all it lasted. I found out because Gavin called me again, this time sounding less smooth and a lot more tired. "Come get your wife," he said. I was at the marina checking storm straps on a sport fisher. "She's not my wife anymore. She's at my place, Liam. She won't leave. She keeps saying I owe her." I smiled to myself. "Do you? This isn't funny." "No," I said. "It's expensive. There's a difference." He lowered his voice. "You made your point. My investors are gone. The charter deal is dead. Tammy's telling people I used her, and now the harbor board is sniffing around my lease. Whatever this is, end it." I tightened one of the straps and looked out at the water. "You're confused, Gavin. I'm not doing anything to you now. I already told the truth. What's happening after that is your problem." He cursed under his breath. "She showed up with suitcases and started talking about us moving to Fort Lauderdale. She said once the divorce money clears, we can restart there." That made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was exactly the kind of fantasy Tammy would still be trying to sell herself. "You should tell her about the divorce money," I said. "What about it?" "There won't be much." That part landed a week later. Tammy filed first, asking for half the liquid assets, temporary support, and exclusive use of the house until the divorce was final. Benjamin answered with the forensic accounting report, the transfer history, the recordings, and a reimbursement claim for every dollar she'd funneled into Gavin. By the time her attorney saw the full file, Tammy's position collapsed. No exclusive use, no support, no clean split. She was ordered into mediation with a fraud claim hanging over her head. The last time I saw her before mediation, she was standing outside the courthouse in a cream blazer that used to make her look sharp. Now it just looked tired. "You really want to take everything from me?" she asked. I stopped in front of her. "No, I want back what you took from me." Her eyes watered, but I didn't step in to fix it. "What happened to us?" she said. I looked at her for a second. "You traded 25 years for a shortcut," I said. "That's what happened." Then I walked past her and into the building while she stayed on the courthouse steps, finally standing alone without me, without Gavin, and without anywhere left to point the blame. 3 months after the mediation, I saw Tammy for the last time in a place that made the whole thing feel almost funny. The grocery store. I was buying coffee, steak, and dock cleaner when I turned into the frozen aisle and found her standing there in front of a sale sign, staring at discount meals like she couldn't remember why she came in. She looked smaller, not physically, just in the way people do when life has stripped all the noise off them. She saw me and froze. "Liam." I nodded. "Tammy." For a second, neither of us moved. No lawyers, no kids, no Gavin, no audience. Just the two of us under bad fluorescent lights with a freezer humming between us. "How are Claire and Noah?" she asked. "They're good." She looked down. "They still barely talk to me." "That's between you and them." She gave a tired smile. "You always did know how to keep a sentence short." "I had to. You used to fill the room enough for both of us." That almost made her laugh. Almost. "I heard Gavin left town," I said. "He did." "Didn't take you with him?" She shook her head. "There was never going to be a Fort Lauderdale." "No," I said. "There wasn't." She leaned one hand on the freezer handle. "I really thought I was starting over." With him? With someone, she said. With a version of myself that didn't feel old. I studied her for a moment. This was the woman I'd built a house with, raised children with, buried parents with, fought bills with, shared 25 Christmas mornings with. And still, I felt nothing that could pull me backward. You didn't want younger, I said. You wanted easier. There's a difference. Tammy's eyes watered, but this time she didn't hide it. I know that now. I nodded once. Good. She looked at my card. You still working too much? Probably. That one actually made her smile. I started to move past her, and she said my name one more time. I did love you. I stopped, but I didn't turn around right away. I know, I said. That's what made it expensive. Then I walked to the register, paid for my things, and drove back to the marina. The sun was dropping behind the slips when I got there. My son was in the bay with Russell, and Claire was on the office deck with takeout for all of us. The sign over the shop still had my name on it. The boat still needed work. The tide still came in whether people kept their vows or not. That was enough for me. Tammy wanted someone younger. What she got instead was a life she couldn't hold on to. And what I got back was mine. Thank you for watching.